The first time Marco Valdez noticed the whispers, he thought people were laughing at his accent. He had just stepped out of a small coffee shop in Quezon City, the late afternoon sun warming the pavement, when a group of college students across the street froze mid-conversation. One of them stared at him so intensely that Marco instinctively checked his shirt for stains. "Bro," the tallest one said, squinting. As that, the others turned, eyes widening. "No way." Marco shifted uncomfortably. He was used to curious looks. He had sharp cheekbones, neatly groomed stubble, and a permanent serious expression that made him look like he was judging the world. But this was different. This was awe. The tallest student finally walked over, phone already in hand. "Kuya, sorry, has anyone ever told you that you look exactly like Simon Cowell?" Marco blinked. "Who?" The entire group gasped as if he'd just confessed he didn't know what the internet was. "Simon Cowell, the judge from those talent shows. The British guy, always serious, white t-shirts, the eyebrow thing." Marco forced a polite smile. "I don't watch much TV." The student pulled up a photo. Marco leaned closer. He almost dropped his coffee. The resemblance was unsettling. The same slightly hooded eyes. The same knowing half-smirk. Even the way their hair fell forward in controlled disarray felt identical. The students started laughing, not mockingly, but with the pure shock of discovery. "Kuya, can we take a photo? Please. The internet will go crazy." Marco hesitated. He worked as a freelance graphic designer. His life revolved around deadlines, coffee, and late-night playlists. Going crazy on the internet wasn't exactly on his to-do list. But he shrugged. "Sure." They snapped the photo. Marco gave what he assumed was a normal smile. It wasn't. It was that smirk. Within 12 hours, the photo had 50,000 shares. Within 24, it was trending. The caption read, "Is this Filipino guy Simon Cowell's long-lost twin?" The comments exploded. "No DNA test needed. Simon, explain yourself." Plot twist. Simon has a secret family in the Philippines. Marco discovered his accidental fame when his phone began vibrating at 2 a.m. Non-stop notifications, friend requests, messages from strangers, tags from people he hadn't spoken to in years. His cousin Liza burst into his apartment the next morning without knocking. "You're viral," she screamed, shoving her phone into his face. There it was, his face side by side with Simon's. Split-screen comparisons, zoomed-in eyebrow analysis, even slow-motion videos analyzing his blink pattern. Marco groaned. "This is ridiculous." Liza grinned. "This is destiny." He didn't believe her, but destiny apparently believed in him. By the third day, local news stations were requesting interviews. Bloggers wanted exclusive features. A morning talk show invited him to appear live. He declined them all, until one message changed everything. It came from an assistant producer of a regional talent competition that was partnering with an international franchise. The message was simple: "We'd love to invite you as a surprise guest judge for our upcoming special episode." The audience would lose their minds. Marco stared at the screen. He had never judged anything more significant than a design contest in college. "I'm not qualified," he muttered. Liza overheard him. "Qualified? You have the face. That's 80% of it. I don't know anything about judging talent." She crossed her arms. "Then learn." He laughed it off. But that night, alone in his apartment, he searched for clips of Simon Cowell. He watched hours of auditions. The brutal honesty, the unexpected softness, the sharp humor, the rare but powerful praise. Marco realized something unsettling. It wasn't just the face. He recognized the expressions, the pauses before speaking, the way Simon leaned back, fingers pressed together, analyzing. Marco did that too. Had he unknowingly modeled himself after someone he'd never consciously followed? Or was it coincidence? Some strange parallel evolution across continents? The producer called the next day. "We'll handle everything," she assured him. "Wardrobe, travel, coaching. It's just for fun." Fun. The word echoed in his head. His life hadn't been fun in a while. Deadlines, bills, routine. Maybe one crazy experience wouldn't hurt. "Okay," he said finally. "I'll do it." The day of the taping arrived faster than expected. Backstage was chaos. Stage lights, microphones, contestants rehearsing nervously. Marco was escorted to a dressing room where a stylist handed him a fitted white shirt. He stared at it. "You're kidding." The stylist winked. "The internet expects it." When Marco stepped onto the stage, the audience didn't just clap. They screamed. The host pretended to faint. "Ladies and gentlemen," the host announced dramatically, "either we've flown in Simon Cowell secretly, or we've discovered his Filipino twin." Marco raised an eyebrow instinctively. The crowd lost it. He sat at the judge's table, heart pounding. Cameras zoomed in. The red recording light blinked. The first contestant was a young woman with a trembling voice and hopeful eyes. Marco listened carefully. When she finished, the other judges gave their feedback. Then all eyes turned to him. He swallowed. "Well," he began, leaning back slightly, fingers touching thoughtfully. "You have something special, but I think you're holding back. Stop trying to sound perfect. Let yourself feel the song." Silence. The contestant's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. The audience erupted. Backstage clips of Marco's comments went viral within hours. "He even talks like him. This is actually scary." But something else happened too. People began sharing his genuine critiques. They weren't cruel. They weren't exaggerated for drama. They were honest, but kind. A clip of him telling a nervous teenager, "You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be brave" for 3 minutes, reached millions of views overnight. Suddenly, the story wasn't just about resemblance. It was about presence. A week later, an email arrived from an international production office. Marco almost deleted it, assuming it was fake. It wasn't. They were planning a special segment featuring viral internet lookalikes. They wanted him to appear in a recorded video call with Simon himself. Marco dropped his phone. "This has gone too far," he muttered. Liza nearly screamed the roof off when he told her, "You have to do it." He paced his apartment for hours. What if Simon was offended? What if he thought Marco was mocking him? What if the resemblance wasn't as strong in real life? The call was scheduled for Friday evening. Marco barely slept the night before. When the video screen flickered on, Marco saw him. Simon Cowell. The resemblance was even more jarring live. Simon leaned closer to the camera. "Well," he said dryly, "this is unsettling." The production crew behind Simon laughed. Marco forced a nervous smile. "I promise I didn't plan this." Simon studied him carefully, eyes scanning his face like a mirror inspecting itself. "What do you do?" Simon asked. "I'm a graphic designer." Simon nodded. "And now apparently my twin." Marco relaxed slightly. "I suppose I should ask," Simon continued, "are you nicer than me?" Marco hesitated, then grinned. "Depends on the day." Simon burst out laughing. The tension shattered. They talked for nearly 15 minutes. About fame. About pressure. About the strange experience of having millions of strangers analyze your face. At one point Simon leaned back and said, "You know, I've seen a lot of lookalikes. But this is remarkable." Marco blinked. "Have you ever considered auditioning for something?" Simon added casually. Marco's heart skipped. "I'm not a performer." Simon raised an eyebrow. "Neither was I, originally. Sometimes the world pushes you somewhere unexpected." The call ended with both of them waving awkwardly. Within minutes, clips flooded social media. The headline read, "Simon meets his Filipino doppelganger, even he can't believe it." But what surprised Marco most wasn't the jokes. It was the messages. People wrote to him about courage, about unexpected opportunities, about how seeing someone ordinary suddenly step into the spotlight gave them hope. "You remind me that life can change overnight. I was scared to audition for my school play. Now I'm doing it. You're proof that even weird coincidences can open doors." Marco sat on his balcony one night, scrolling through those messages, the city humming below him. He realized something. The resemblance had opened the door. But what he did after stepping through it, that was his choice. Another invitation arrived 2 weeks later. This time, it was for him to actually audition on stage, not as a judge, not as a gimmick, but as himself. The producers had noticed something during his guest judging stint. His calm presence, his timing, his ability to command a room without raising his voice. They suggested he try stand-up commentary, observational humor about viral fame. Marco almost declined again, but then he remembered Simon's words, "Sometimes the world pushes you somewhere unexpected." So he wrote. He wrote jokes about eyebrow comparisons. About strangers asking for autographs meant for someone else. About his mother insisting she always knew he was international material. The night of his audition, the auditorium was packed. He stepped onto the stage alone this time. No judge's table, no white shirt, just him. He looked out at the crowd, who were already smiling in anticipation. "Good evening," he began. "I know what you're thinking. Yes, my British accent is terrible." The room exploded in laughter. For 5 minutes, Marco owned the stage. He wasn't imitating Simon. He wasn't trying to be anyone else. He was telling his story. When he finished, the standing ovation felt different from the viral screams weeks ago. This applause wasn't about resemblance. It was about recognition. Recognition of courage. Recognition of authenticity. The judges praised his natural delivery and sharp wit. "You walked in here as a meme," one judge said. "You're leaving as a performer." That clip trended too. But this time, the caption was different. From doppelganger to star. Months passed. Marco's following grew steadily. He began hosting small events. Then larger ones. He kept designing on the side, but something inside him had shifted. He was no longer just reacting to the internet's fascination. He was building something of his own. One evening, during a live Q&A session, a viewer asked the question everyone had been joking about since day one. "Have you taken a DNA test yet?" Marco laughed. "No," he replied, "and I don't think I need to." The comments flooded with laughing emojis. "But here's what I've learned," he continued. "You don't need to be someone's twin to share their confidence. You don't need to look like someone famous to step into your own spotlight. And sometimes, the weirdest coincidence in your life is just a mirror showing you who you could become." The chat slowed. People were listening. "Simon might have the face I share," Marco said with a soft smile. "But the journey, that's mine." A year after that first viral photo, Marco stood backstage at an international showcase event in Singapore. He wasn't there as a novelty. He was there as a featured host. Before walking out, he checked his reflection in the mirror. For a moment, he saw the resemblance again. The eyebrows, the smirk. But behind those features was something distinctly his. Confidence earned, not borrowed. The stage manager signaled him. He stepped into the spotlight. The crowd cheered, not in shock this time, but in anticipation. As he began speaking, he felt the weight of that first accidental photo, that first stunned reaction on a city street, that first nervous video call. Life hadn't given him a long-lost twin. It had given him a mirror. And instead of getting lost in the reflection, he had learned to step through it. Somewhere across the world, perhaps Simon was judging another audition, raising an eyebrow at a hopeful singer. And somewhere in the Philippines, Marco Valdez was raising his own eyebrow at a packed auditorium, delivering a punchline that sent waves of laughter rolling through the room. The internet couldn't handle the resemblance. But Marco had learned to handle the spotlight. And in the end, that made all the difference.